Good evening. Pastor Andrew here with another devotional on the attributes of God. This week I want us to think about God's will and take each night this week and think about the implications of that. Ephesians chapter 1 verse 11 says that all things happen according to the counsel of His will. And that verse is full sweeping. All things includes good things and bad things, and happens according to His will. And so in some way God's will, God is, everything happens according to God's plan. This raises a ton of questions for us, and so we'll take some time this week to try to parse some of those questions out. Tonight I want us to see how this relates to your and my life in the regular to and fro, ebb and flow of everything that we do. And the passage that I want us to consider regarding this is James chapter 4 verses 13 through 15, which says, "Come now, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go into such and such a town and spend a year there and trade and make a profit. Yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring. What is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little time and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we will live and do this or that." It used to be customary that people would sign the bottom of their letters when they mailed letters to one another, and they would sign with two letters DV, which meant Deo volente in Latin, which stood for Lord willing. And I have discovered that since the COVID-19 outbreak, that this custom has reemerged in many people's letter writing or in their emails or in their whatevers, to put this DV or even to spell it out, Deo volente, at the bottom of these letters. Why is that? Because the coronavirus has exposed the truth of James chapter 4 to us, and that is, we actually don't know what tomorrow holds. We have made plans for years and years that we were going to do this, we're going to do that, and suddenly we have been thrust into this moment in our history where everything is put on halt, and we don't know a ton of things that's to come. And it makes us aware of the fact that we are subject to the will of God. And this is, in this sense, not a bad thing. It's very good for us to consider this, that we do not make ultimate plans for ourselves. We can make plans, we can intend to go places to accomplish certain goals, but at the end of the day, everything is subject to God's perfect will, and His perfect will be enacted in your and my life. And we can trust Him with that. And we'll talk more about how that looks in certain situations in upcoming installments of this devotion. But for now, I want us to consider our response to this. Not to go into the realm of speculation as to how this works in any given scenario, but instead to look in on ourselves and say, if this is so, what should then my response be? And the answer is, our response should be one of humility. We should not exercise a level of arrogance in terms of how we think our lives ought to follow, but we should bow in humble dependence upon the God whose will cannot be thwarted, in whom all things happen according to the counsel of His will, and His will is good. We can trust Him, even in bad situations. We can trust His good will in our lives. Coronavirus has forced us into this situation, and I think it's a good thing for us to reflect upon. It's often been said that if you want to tell God a joke, tell Him your plans, because He may very well be up to something entirely different. As He enacts His plans in your life, though there's passages, we've mentioned before that are of good comfort to us. All things happen according to the counsel, or rather, I'm quoting Ephesians 1:11 again, Romans 8:28. All things are for the good of those who are called according to His purpose, and those who love Him, who are called according to His purpose. All things happen for the good of those people. And we can trust that whatever scenario we find ourselves in, that God is working good in our lives. He is up to a billion different things in any given situation, and we might be aware of 1, 2, or 3 of those things. And so we do best to simply trust Him. God bless, and have a good night.